All right, team, let's get started. Today, we're diving into a professional's guide for one of the most critical topics out there right now, AI risk assessment. And look, this isn't just about dodging bullets. It's about making sure the AI projects you pour so much effort into actually deliver real long-term value. Okay, let's jump right in.
So I want to start with a question because it's something that I see on almost every project I consult on, whether it's big or small. What do you think is the single most common reason that these promising AI initiatives they just don't hit the mark?
And there you have it. The answer is surprisingly simple, but it is so powerful. The biggest mistake is just speed. It's that rush to get to the exciting part, the deployment, the big results, all without taking the time to build a really solid, unshakable foundation. This right here, this is the central problem that we are here to solve today. So here's our game plan for building that rock-solid foundation. First, we're going to dig into that common pitfall. Then we'll talk about the core principles you absolutely need to know, the different strategic approaches you can take, a super practical 4-step plan, and finally, we'll cover how to actually get started and measure what really matters. The pressure to innovate is huge, right? And AI can feel like this magic wand. But here's the thing. Skipping that foundational risk assessment, that's like trying to build a skyscraper on sand. Yeah, it might look impressive for a hot second, but you and I both know it is destined to crumble. Just think about it. An AI tool that's supposed to summarize legal documents suddenly hallucinates and invents a fake legal precedent, or a data model that just fabricates statistics for your big quarterly report. That's a total disaster, and it's born from a weak foundation. So how do we build on solid ground instead of that sand? Well, it all starts with mastering a core discipline, AI risk taxonomy and assessment. And don't worry, this isn't about some overly complex jargon. This is the essential, non-negotiable groundwork for any AI project that you want to succeed. Let's just break that down a bit. Really, AI risk taxonomy and assessment is just a structured way of thinking. It's about systematically asking, what could go wrong here? Then you put those risks into logical buckets, and you figure out just how serious they really are. The whole point is to be proactive, not reactive. Now, our goal here isn't just to talk theory. The whole point of this explainer is to hand you a complete toolkit. We're talking both the core ideas and the practical frameworks you can use to start calibrating your own judgment and making smarter AI decisions, like tomorrow. Okay, now we get to the fun part, your strategic toolkit. Once you get the principles, you've got to decide how you're going to apply them. And trust me, there is no one-size-fits-all solution, so it is absolutely vital to have a few different frameworks you can pull from. We're going to look at 3 main frameworks. First up is the foundation approach. This is all about patience. You build everything strong and deep before you even think about scaling. Think about critical systems, maybe in healthcare or finance, where a mistake is simply not an option. Second, you've got the iterative approach. This is where you learn as you go. You build, you test, you refine, over and over. It's perfect for something like a new marketing tool, where you're still figuring things out. And third is the integrated approach, which is all about weaving AI risk management right into the processes your company already has, so it just becomes a natural part of how you work. And here's the real pro tip, so listen up. Don't be rigid about this. The most successful teams I've seen are always flexible. They take a hard look at where they are, what resources they have, and they cherry-pick elements from all 3 of these frameworks to build a custom approach that works just right for them. Okay, this is where the rubber really meets the road. We've talked theory, we've talked strategy. Now let's get down to execution. This 4-step plan is your blueprint for turning all these ideas into actual action. The flow here is just logical and really effective. Step 1 is assessment. That's just taking an honest look at where you are right now. This is where you run that quick mental checklist, right? How high is the risk of this task versus how capable the AI is? What's the actual cost of an error? Then, step 2, planning. You create a clear roadmap and define what success looks like before you even start building. Step 3 is execution, where you roll out the plan but keep risk management front and center. And finally, and this is so crucial, step 4 is monitoring. This is not a one-and-done thing, it's a continuous loop. You have to be tracking data and constantly making things better. All right, this final section is what I call the reality check. We're going to tackle the 2 big questions that always come up the second a team decides to get serious about this stuff. So let's just hit them head on. The classic question. It can feel pretty overwhelming, can't it? You've got the frameworks, you've got the steps, but where do you actually put your foot first? What is the very first thing you're supposed to do? The answer is simple.
You go right back to step 1 of our plan, assessment. Seriously, before you do anything else, you have to take a clear, honest snapshot of where your organization is today and define where you want to go. Only then can you build a realistic roadmap that actually accounts for real-world things like your budget and your deadlines while also playing to your strengths.
And now for that second critical question. How do you prove that all this foundational work is actually worth it? How do you put a number on the value of avoiding a disaster and building things the right way from the start? The key here is to measure what actually matters to the business. Don't just track technical stuff. So, for example, instead of only measuring a model's accuracy percentage, measure its impact on something like reducing customer service call times or maybe increasing sales conversions. You have to define these clear business metrics early, track them like a hawk, and be really disciplined about it. So look, if you only remember one thing from our time today, please let it be this. Mastering AI risk assessment, it's not a chore. It's not a compliance exercise or just some box-ticking thing. It is the absolute bedrock for delivering consistent, reliable value with AI. It's what separates the projects that are a flash in the pan from the ones that truly transform a business. I'll leave you with this final thought to take back to your teams. I want you to look at your current AI initiatives and ask yourselves, honestly, are we building on solid ground, or are we falling into that most common trap of all, just moving a little too fast? The answer to that question, well, that could be the difference between success and failure.